It took everything inside of myself to swallow my pride and my fear, and I performed one more lap around Edo as the sun dipped into the horizon. Yet again, my search was fruitless, and no leads of Sanan came into view. I returned home empty-handed. You're searching the wrong time of the day, girl. I'm home. Hello?
Oh, welcome back.
Ah! My self-deprecating declaration was met with a response which caused me to shriek. Little had I known, 2 visitors came to my home. Kimigiku and Sen? Yeah! Girl time! Sweet. I'm glad it's you guys. Familiar faces from my days in Kyoto. It was none other than... Sen? Kimigiku? I deeply apologize for this sudden imposition. I had informed the princess that arriving unannounced was in poor form, but surprising her was more enjoyable, was it not? Did you see the look on Chizuru's face? Ugh, you nearly made me jump out of my skin. That's beside the point. What are the 2 of you doing here? How long have you been in Edo for? It was a matter of business, you see. 1 week ago, serendipity brought us to Edo. We caught wind of the Shinsengumi's departure for Aizu, and heard of your choice to remain in Edo. I must admit, I never took you for a deserter, especially from the Shinsengumi. Quite the surprise. What inspired you to come here? Had they told you that it would be too dangerous to join them? Oh, it's kind of a long story. I was unsure of what exactly compelled me to spill my heart out to Sen and Kimigiku on this evening. Girl time. Perhaps it was because they had been privy to the circumstances surrounding my relationship with the Shinsengumi, or even the history of my lineage. But I told them everything. How my tenure with the Shinsengumi had ended, and for what cause. Neither Sen nor Kimigiku spoke a word until I was finished, listening intently with patient ears. I see. So, this Sanan parted ways with the Shinsengumi and took all of his furies with him. Judging from what you've told us, though, it would appear that fortune is playing in our favor. What do you mean? Our main reason for visiting Edo is because we are currently in pursuit of Kodo Yukimura, who is currently supplying the Imperial Army with furies. Because of your relation, you have my sympathies, but Kodo has violated our demon order, and he is chiefly responsible for the propagation of fakes. As head of the Yase clan, I can no longer sit idly by while he disrupts our sacred values. Does that mean you plan on killing him? If it were Kazuma's decision, then no doubt he would insist on doing so. I, however, have a heart for demons, so if at all possible, I'd like not to. Right. I'm certain that you may already be aware of this, but with your permission, I'd like to say one thing. Based on what you've said to us, I have a lingering suspicion that Sanan intends on seeking Kodo's counsel. I know. Sanan was wholly devoted, if not utterly obsessed, with researching and improving the water of life. As a Fury, there weren't plenty of places for him to hide outside of the Shinsengumi. The revelation was a bitter pill to swallow. Sen noticed my discomfort, shifting herself towards me. If he truly is conspiring with Kodo, then I've no doubt the 2 are performing Fury experiments. With that in mind, Chizuru, what do you intend to do with Sanan should we successfully find him? I bit my lip in hesitation, telling Sen, first, we're gonna have a talk. I want to speak with him. If anything, I felt she would appreciate my candor. I mean, I haven't had a chance to get his side of the story. I believe he deserves a chance to explain his departure, especially if he's working with my father. People often painted Sanan as an unfeeling cynic, but there was more to him than his cold exterior.
He valued the members of the Shinsengumi with all of his heart, perhaps more than some of those who wore their hearts on their sleeve. In fact, he sacrificed being able to participate in civilian life to continue serving as their colonel, albeit as a fury lingering in the shadows. It was a burden few others could ever bear. Who else could have done it? Was anyone ever really equipped to become a fury? Perhaps his dedication to his research was a testament to this question. Pardon me if I sound stubborn, but it just fails me to think Sanan would betray his closest allies. At the very least, we owe it to ourselves and to him to have his position clarified before we decide his fate. Very well. Kimigiku nodded, turning to face Sen, who returned the gesture with a kind smile. Together, we sat in silence. Words seemed to form on the tip of Sen's tongue, and not once, but twice she seemed eager to speak. Finally, she blurted out. I knew it! She's like, is it... Are you in love? Is that what's going on, girl? Oh, Sen, you keep seeing through me.
I know. You're in love!
What? What makes you say that?
It's not that hard to believe, is it? The look in your eye is unmistakable when you speak of him. How else could you describe your undying faith?
Well... I'd been so preoccupied with finding him, perhaps I hadn't devoted enough time to asking myself, why? Sen made a compelling argument, one that I had yet to consider. I gently touched the center of my forehead. Aw. I was like, yeah, that's where he kissed you goodbye. It was as if he marked me, and I fixated on the faint sensation of his lips tenderly kissing me that night. I found myself replaying the intimate encounter, and soon my heart was overflowing with warmth. Sen pursed her lips in contemplation, fiddling with her hands before addressing Kimigiku.
Kiku, what say you?
Whatever you decide, princess. Kimigiku performed a pious bow, tilting her head upwards to share an assuring smile with me.
If you intend on finding Sanan, and we intend on finding Kodo, considering the likelihood of finding them in the same place is rather high. Our best option, Chizuru, is for us to join forces and discover where they could be hiding, right?
I mean, would that be okay with you two? Of course. The princess considers it her highest honor to serve and support her kin, and that includes you.
Come now, Kiku. We needn't put too much pressure on the poor girl. In these precarious times, my duty is the least of our concerns. We support each other because we are friends, not because we're kin. Isn't that enough?
Apologies, my lady. I can't thank the two of you enough. Yeah, we're gonna be the Charlie's Angels of Edo. Yeah! Alright, girl trio time! I love everything about this. Yes, 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 yes. I said the first thing that came to my mind and quickly bowed out of reflex, hoping they would accept my humble gratitude. Alright, I love it. Gaining the assistance of two confident, battle-tested demons was a blessing for me, as I had submitted to the possibility of handling this undertaking alone. Every second the Imperial Army marched forward. We scoured Edo for any rumblings of fury sightings. No stone had been left unturned, and together the three of us probed every reported murder in the city. Kimigiku was adept at eavesdropping, asking enough passerby to begin gathering meaningful leads that led to the location of Father and the growing Fury Corps. Just as easily as we procured useful clues, however, there was no shortage of terrible news from the war's front lines, reaching us all the way from Aizu. Isumi Kondo, illustrious chief of the Shinsengumi, was arrested and beheaded in a shameful display at the Itabashi execution grounds, much to my dismay. I staggered upon hearing the news, clutching my racing heart with a clammy hand. Kondo, who had showed me nothing but kindness and hospitality during my time under his care, had been executed with neither clemency nor honor. It was a devastating blow for the Shinsengumi, whose morale was already teetering, even more so with the loss of their charismatic talisman. I wondered where Sanan was throughout all of this. Did he have any chance or desire to mourn the loss? Yeah, I don't know. He was there in the beginning with the condo. Be interesting to see what he thought about that whole thing. Summer loomed in the near future, evidenced by the fallen cherry blossoms cascading onto our sore shoulders, which were tired and slumped with grief. After days of investigation, Sen, Kimigiku, and I were gathered to deliberate on a fresh lead provided by Kimigiku's hawk-like diligence.
Martial law has spread where? In Kanai Temple? You mean the one in Ueno?
Aye, my lady. As of now, the surrounding town has closed itself off entirely. No one can enter, and civilians are prohibited from leaving as well. Is it because Lord Yoshinobu is currently residing at Kanei Temple? Upon his return to Edo, Lord Yoshinobu Takagawa notoriously spent his penance, following his disastrous showing in Kyoto, holed up in Ueno's Kanei Temple. It hadn't surprised me in the slightest to consider that the temple was well fortified in a glorified attempt to save face. Sen hadn't shared in my amusement. She crossed her arms in frustration, shaking her head sternly.
No, something isn't adding up. When Edo Castle tendered their surrender to the Imperial Army, Yoshinobu had reportedly traveled to Mito in an act of self-preservation. By then, the only persons left to occupy the temple were the Shogi Company, his esteemed guard.
Wait, does this mean there's some other reason for why the temple is initiating drastic measures? Do you think Shogi Company is gearing for battle? Indeed. Allegedly, the Imperial Army has sent some of their covert espionage units to perform raids in Ueno in the dead of night. Dead of night? Performing espionage missions was one thing, but doing so while the building was already under the Imperial Army's jurisdiction was curious behavior. There must have been another reason why. Two options sprung to mind immediately. Either the unit was incapable of moving during the day, or they intentionally obscured their movements. Maybe it's the Imperial Army's Furies? I hypothesized the same conclusion myself. The placement of the units correspond with this theory as well, given that the formation is designed with the purpose of blocking any outside infiltration. If anything were to happen, we'd have no idea. I presumed that Father was leading the Fury Corps. So too could we guess that Sanan was somewhere in his midst, though I hoped otherwise.
I don't suppose you'd entertain any suggestion for you to remain behind, would you?
I want to join you! If somehow, defying all perilous odds, we managed to infiltrate the temple and confronted Sanan or Father, what words could I even confront them with? My heart ached as I struggled to find them, but for now, all we could do was prepare to embark. Even Sen was like, there's no way I'm going to keep you here. Cannon fire shook the ground with piercing bombast as we edged closer to Ueno. Imperial soldiers were stationed on every street corner leading towards Kanai Temple, including the main entrance we had originally hoped to use. Ueno, at one point a central hub for the exchange of cultural ideas, was reduced to a military blockade. As Kimigiku had foretold, the well-armed guard served as a serious deterrent for anyone planning on traveling through the residential area. It was just like you said. This gives me the creeps.
Right. Ueno's become little more than a ghost town. Not a single sign of movement in or out. I shall scout ahead to see if there are any exposed areas. Stay close behind me, you two.
Kimigiku moved so swiftly it looked as though her feet floated above the cobblestone. An amber sunset bid the light of the day farewell, covering our surroundings in a dim orange hue. We took advantage of the limited exposure to sneak through a dense forest just outside of the temple. From here, it looks like a straight shot into Kanei Temple. Let's keep going. We all glanced towards the town, noticing that the exchange of cannon fire halted in the distance. Was the battle over, I wondered? Were we too late?
If possible, try not to look down.
No sooner had the words left Kimigiku's mouth when glimmers of moonlight eked through the tree branches rustling overhead. Despite Kimigiku's warning, I saw it. The nauseating scent of rust filled my nose, thickening in the air like a stale, damp fog. I had to stop myself from gagging as I realized what we were looking at. Bodies, torn and disemboweled beyond recognition, drained of blood like plums pressed without juice.
This is horrible. This is the work of the Fury Corps. Of that I am certain. The Shogi Company was massacred here. They never stood a chance, it seems.
More worrying is the fact that I see no signs of Kodo, Sanan, nor their Furies anywhere in our vicinity.
Agreed. However, the lack of artillery fire may mean that the blockade will lift soon. We must hurry if we want to avoid any potentially unwanted attention.
Aye, we should split up and cover more ground. I'll head right. Kiku, you head left. Chizuru, stay within this area and keep an eye out for any strange movement.
Understood, my lady. If anything happens, please signal me.
All right. Sen, Kimigiku, please watch out for yourselves. The two of them nodded and slinked into the darkness. All of a sudden, I found myself alone. I'm surprised they left me alone. I shut my eyes, clearing my mind and taking in a deep breath. Nerves were getting the better of me. First things first, I need to find any sign of Sanan or Fat. I hadn't taken more than 2 steps when... Ah! I know that purple outfit. How did you find me before I found you? A slender hand shot out from the darkness, covering my mouth and muffling my desperate shriek. Don't move. It was... Hi. Please calm yourself. I've no intention of harming you. If I relinquish my hand, can you swear not to make a peep or do anything rash? Without moving the rest of my body, I tepidly nodded. Sanan waited for a second and released his hold. As soon as Sanan took his arms off of me, I ignored my promise, grabbing a hold of him while frantically speaking under my breath. I mean, you're trying not to make a peep, you're just like shaking him like, What did you do?
Sanan, what are you doing here?
Lower your voice. I thought we had an agreement that you wouldn't speak.
How do you expect me to stay quiet? Do you have any idea how long I've been searching for you?
From the bottom of my heart, I regret having left in such a crude manner. I never would have guessed, however, that you would come searching for me, much less resign from your post. Mind explaining why you are here?
As if he had any right to complain, Sanan shook his head, speaking in a pedantic tone of voice. Well, I'm risking my life coming all the way out here because there's something I wanted to ask of you. I wanted to know why you left the Shinsengumi.
Because you, more than anyone else, inspire toil and confusion in my aching heart.
Well, excuse me.
In truth, had you not come, this mission would have been simpler by a magnitude of difference. But I find myself drawn to the sentiment behind your ceaseless pursuit. Irony is a cruel mistress.
What do you mean?
I desire nothing more than to explain, but we are short on time, unfortunately. I hadn't imagined that the Imperial Army's Furies would be capable of such effortless depravity.
Sanan's eyes darted nervously at the line of corpses strewn underneath our feet, and he squinted. Sanan, do you know what happened here?
I do. These Furies, although they tout an array of enhanced abilities, are still susceptible to uncontrollable episodes of bloodlust. The only means of satiating them, of which I am sure you've become familiar, is giving them a taste of blood when the symptoms begin to appear. The larger the batch of furies, the greater the quantity of blood necessary to keep them obedient.
Wait, so this is what all the fighting in Ueno was about?
Afraid so. This was intended merely as a precursor to storming Edo Castle in order to feed the Furies. Seeing as Edo Castle was surrendered anyway, Kane Temple was offered as a suitable alternative. However, not even I am impervious to the tantalizing scent of blood. The smell is driving me mad.
There he goes.
Ugh.
Sanan's pupils dilated as he kept his stare fixed on the corpses, which frightened me to the core. Don't eat those drained plums, please.
No!
His bloodshot eyes filled with a startling shade of crimson, which was followed by a violent tremble throughout his restless, feeble limbs. Cravings for blood inspired anguish beyond compare. Sanan, stay strong!
There's all this blood. I need blood. Ah!
A haunting, sadistic glow dazzled behind Sanan's red eyes, which convinced me that he might begin feasting on the bodies scattered around us. Not so fast. In a fit of panic, I unsheathed my Kadachi to lacerate my forearm as recompense. If it's blood that you crave, then please, drink mine. He was kissed by a touch of insanity. That's it. That's the summary of Sanan's character right there. Kissed by a touch of insanity. Sanan dove toward my arm in eager anticipation, lapping up my trickling blood like a starved canine. Oh my, the panting.
Forgive me, Yukimura.
I paid him no mind as he engorged on my fluids. Do you have to word it like that, though? As I felt entranced by the dull sting of his mindless sucking. There was satisfaction to be taken in knowing that I, above the Shogi Company's tragic remains, could do something to soothe Sanan's rapacious thirst. Chizuru, you are worth more than a pile of disfluidated corpses. Even without you cutting your arm, okay? This girl has such a low opinion of herself. Oh, I'm dying.
Yukimura.
I ran my fingers through Sanan's hair, tugging slightly in response to the touch of his avid, sensual mouth. Wow. They're both really getting into it. He's moaning her name, she's pulling on his hair. Dang. That was hot. I'm into it.
How foolish of me, speaking ill of those creatures as I find myself descending into the same pitfall. I should consider myself lucky that you were here to save me. My sincerest thanks, Yukimura.
All that matters to me is that you're safe. After his refractory period, Sanan's condition seemed to stabilize, and he patted his snug clothing before pointing at me to follow him towards the temple. Should I, though? Apparently I am. Well, bye, Sen and Kimigiku. I found my boy, so I am gone forever. Bros before sisters. Oh, no. Okay. As Sanan led me towards Kanai Temple's entrance gate, my stomach turned upon the sight of dozens of bodies, or what remained of them below us. Initially, I had wished that I could become numb to the sight, but I pondered if such a thing were worse.
Are you all right?
Yes, I'm fine.
Just feeling a little nauseous.
Understandable, of course. The spirit can only tolerate so much wickedness before it too spirals down the same path. It is in our nature. Before I forget, Yukimura, had you traveled here alone tonight?
No. Earlier this evening, Sen and Kimigiku escorted me here. They should be joining us any minute now. I lost track of the time and began growing anxious. It had been nearly half an hour, perhaps more, since I last saw them, yet neither of them could be found. Forgive me for asking, Sanan. Would it be okay if I were to go looking for them? I'm afraid that they might have gotten caught up in something.
By now, the two of them have almost surely been apprehended by the Fury Corps. Resistance at this stage is a hollow pursuit. Best to let them figure it out themselves.
Huh? Before I had a chance to put two and two together, the night took a sudden turn for the worse. Because betrayal! Dun dun dun! Yeah, I knew. You guys are working together. But it's because Sanan's got a plan. I believe in him still. At least on his route.
At last, you delivered her to me. Allow me to congratulate you, Sanan.
Oh, and brother's here too! Dang! Alright! I like that. Tie up all my loose ends, why don't you? Good. Oni-chan, it's been so long. I guess Oni-san. You are technically a little older than me. What? Father? Kaoru?
Haven't seen you since Fushimi, Chizuru.
You look a little troubled, little sister. I'd expect a warmer welcome for your father and brother.
As I had expected, both father and Kaoru were waiting for me this entire time. Okay, at least she expected it. Anxiety dripped from the sweat in my shaky hands, but I did my best to keep my eyes locked on theirs. As I attempted to back away from them, I bumped into Sanan's chest. Hey! You want to fill me in on the plan, boo?
You needn't fret, Yukimura. What's better than a family reunion?
What are you talking about, Sanan?
Apparently, I received all the smart genes, eh, sister? Face it, he's one of us now. Little did you know he planned on handing you over as soon as you set foot in Ueno. Thankfully for us, he's delivered the Shinsengumi's Fury Core to us as well. What a gentleman.
Stop lying! There's no way Sanan would do that!
If you're so sure, then why don't you ask him yourself?
Kaoru flashed a smug, mischievous smile. I shot Sanan a desperate glance. Sanan... I'm gonna save. I'm not convinced he's joined our dad. Like, physically, yes. Ideally, like, sharing ideals and motives and stuff. He's on a mission. I say we ask, are you still a Shinsengumi, man? Sanan, you're still a member of the Shinsengumi, right? It was proving impossible to steady my quivering voice, let alone form coherent thoughts. At first, Sanan was silent, forming his lips into a smirk.
Yes, of course. In spite of my desertion, they are an integral part of my being.
Yeah? Whew. I basked in the glow of relief. It was short-lived, however, as Sanan continued without a change in his expression.
Unfortunately, the Shinsengumi is hesitant to reciprocate my dedication. Despite sacrificing our lives and our time, those petulant fools have forsaken our purpose and duties. At the end of it all, they are far more concerned with their fraying reputation and are content to relegate us to the annals of their cursed history.
Sanan's words were tinged with pain. As badly as I wanted to refute his sentiment, his seething gaze quieted me and his lips curled.
No matter how desperately you wanted to defend me, you've wasted your time. The Shinsengumi is obsolete, which had left me no other choice but to take my furies with me.
Sanan delivered his acerbic criticism coldly, leaving me with no rebuttal. From my peripheral, I saw Father prance in delight towards his new colleague. And from his tone of voice, I could tell he had been reveling in this. Oh boy. Well, Dad didn't get the smart genes.
Well then, Sanan, allow me to offer you a proposal. Just as I had asked during Tobufushimi, do you wish to join me in expanding the boundaries of what the Fury Core is capable of?
Yes. I've no other option but to accept.
Why? Why, Sanan? How could you? My knees buckled from shock, trying my best not to give in to an overwhelming feeling of defeat. I held my head low, and Sanan responded with a mere shake of his head.
If the Shinsengumi is hell-bent on resisting adaptation, then they are doomed regardless. With Kondo out of the picture, the Shinsengumi will never become more than a shell of itself. As far as I'm concerned, they are all Hijikata's lapdogs. My ambitions are far too great to occupy myself with that.
No! My worst fears were unraveling before my eyes. Sanan had given in to the darkness, and now Father had gained the missing piece to his puzzle. The bellow in Sanan's voice was fueled by unstoppable conviction, and I dropped to my knees in disbelief. I was in the den of the beast, a cave built upon lies. Brother's like, alright, enough of your dramatics. Well, great.
Alright, spare us your faux grief, Chizuru. You're coming with us. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live with Kodo again?
Before I could react, Kaoru stretched his arm at me, wrapping his slimy fingers around my wrist. I instinctively darted my line of sight towards Sanan, carrying a faint hope that he'd rescue me. But it was useless, and his blank, glassy eyes remained unmoved as Kaoru yanked me closer to his body. Bro, personal space? No! Let go of me! Release her at once! Are you safe, Chizuru? Alright, my girls! Yay, you weren't captured. Sen! Kimigiku! Fortune smiled upon me as Sen and Kimigiku leapt into the fray, intervening between myself and Kaoru with swords drawn. Out of frustration, Kaoru lashed out with a swing of his blade, which was deftly intercepted by Sen's parry.
Curses! We've got intruders!
I suspected the Fury Core would have deterred you, but I suppose there's still no match for demons. To what pleasure, pray tell, do we owe the Princess of Yase for traveling here all the way from Kyoto?
Don't play coy with me. We are here to deliver justice for the crimes you've committed against our people.
Your insistence on producing fakes is a stain among demon kind. Have you no pride, Kodo Yukimura?
What need have I for pride? Did pride protect any of our kin when our villages were massacred by humans? What use was it then? Stop me, if you can. I'm ready for it.
Oh dang. We're getting this confrontation now in Chapter 3? I winced in horror as two spots began bulging from Father's forehead, splitting the flesh to reveal horns. That is a power reserved for demons of pure-blooded descent. How can you do that?
Witness the true power of the water of life.
Scalpels. Father suddenly flung a fistful of what looked to be scalpels towards Kimigiku, which produced a clang against her sword with her quick deflection.
Behold, thanks to the water of life, my power has risen beyond that of a normal demon's capability.
What? How can that be?
Don't act so surprised, princess. Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
Ah!
Sen and Kaoru began clashing blades, and sparks flew as their steel hissed with consistency. I shuddered, but it was unfair for me to stand and watch. I unsheathed my Kodachi resolutely. But that means I gotta fight Sanan, because he's the only one left here. My palms were clammy as they wrapped around my Kodachi's hilt, exacerbated by Kaoru's taunts.
The hell are you doing, Sanan? Hurry up and take Chizuru! Always the first to volunteer another, aren't you? As you wish.
I love that we have to fight him. This is great. Oh no! Oh no! Alright, let's do it!
Fighting me is unwise. I've been known to get a bit carried away in battle. I'm sure you understand.
Don't patronize me! It shattered everything I had known about Sanan to see him vilify the Shinsengumi. He was, as much as Kondo or Hijikata, woven into the fabric of their myth, an embodiment of their values. As I kept the tip of my blade pointed at him, I knew that my chances of victory were slim to none. My courage felt in short supply, and even for Sen or Kimigiku, Sanan was a more than worthy adversary. But I couldn't bear to roll over and let him take me. Girl, careful with the choice of words. Out of context. I braced myself for impact, holding in my breath as a blinding flash of steel momentarily came into view. Rather than being aimed at myself, however, the sword's arc whizzed past me to strike Sanan, who narrowly avoided its path.
My.
Isn't that Heisuke's color? You alright, Chizuru?
Ah, the poor puppy is without his pack in Edo. What a surprise, Toto.
Oh my god, Toto! The Heisuke-Sanan rivalry continues! Heisuke? I thought you joined the rest of the Shinsengumi and Aizu.
Actually, Hijikata ordered me to stay here. I've been keeping an eye on you to make sure you were safe.
Heisuke! Toshi! You guys still cared about me.
Here we are, living in a goddamn nightmare. I've been waiting for Hijikata's suspicions to be proven wrong, but I was a fool for doing so.
Ah, so Hijikata had believed me to be a conniving snake all along, had he?
Shut up! Explain yourself, Sanan!
Hello? Toto, was it? Hadn't realized we invited more guests.
No, pay him no mind, Kodo. Toto will be dealt with myself. Once he's finished, no other obstacles remain.
Bring it! If you think you can take me on, then give me everything you've got!
The rhythmic clang of Heisuke and Sanan's swords crashing into one another echoed like thunder, with neither giving the other a chance to rest. Sanan flipped his sword so that the blade was pointed toward the ground, attempting to stab Heisuke with a downward strike. They looked to be enjoying themselves. Heisuke thwarted his move, however, twisting his body to avoid the strike as he retaliated with a swift jab. Sanan hastily parried it, and the two shared a satisfactory grin in respect to each other's technique.
Toto, care to answer something for me?
What is it?
We're not so different, and a man of your talents would do well on our side. What do you say?
What are you playing at?
By joining myself in Kyoto, you would be closer to unlocking your true potential as a Fury. Imagine the possibilities. We could extend our lifespan, or perhaps even regain our humanity.
Oh my, I haven't seen that look in a while.
If you believe and fight for us, then I believe we could rejoin our allies. Our lives could be reclaimed.
You gotta be kidding me. Count your blessings where you've got them. Face it, man. We're dead. You can't let yourself be swayed by greed, or else you'll regret it, Sanan.
I lament your position. I thought you, of all people, would resonate with my proposal.
It was a dance of swords, both participants trading blows with the full force of their weight behind each strike after bouncing back to catch their breath. It was ebb and flow, a maelstrom of fiery steel. Even if their swordsmanship was equal, however, one of them had a clear, unfair advantage. Heisuke, behind you!
Die! Hey, get the hell out of here!
Heisuke hadn't even bothered to look over his shoulder as he kicked backwards at the Fury Soldier. Although Heisuke's ability to multitask was impressive. The split second of distraction was an ample chance for Sanan to identify and exploit a vulnerable opening. Oh, Sanan, no, please.
Poor form, Toto.
Ah! Damn it!
Too late.
Sanan dodged a frenetic flurry of Heisuke's swings, grinning wryly like a cat ready to pounce upon a rat. Heisuke's eyes widened in horror upon realizing his current predicament. Oh no! Sanan once more flipped his sword upside down, dodging a panicked slash from Heisuke to stab his blade deep into his combatant's chest.
My hope is that one day you'll learn to thank me for this courtesy. That I was the one to kill you.
Gah!
Heisuke! Heisuke!
Good show all around. Killing off an old comrade for the sake of research. How deliciously sinister. You've proven to be a worthy accomplice, Sanan.
Noted, but your compliments do nothing for me.
Blood frothed from Heisuke's blubbering mouth, the sight upon which Sanan sneered coldly. None of this is real, I prayed. I wanted nothing more than to deny that any of this was happening in real time. I fell to my knees, listening to Heisuke gurgle on his own blood. You can't end Chapter 3 like that! Holy crap, man! What happened? A cliffhanger, though. That's so cruel.